Hi friends, welcome to TakeThree Talks. I'm Estefi and I'm going to be your host. Today I'm accompanied by my favorite co-host, the one and only Mei June.
Oh, is it not Guillermo?
Hi, welcome to today's episode. Guillermo is also with us. He's just on the floor. No mic for him today. He said that he's definitely not paid enough to also... Oh,
there,
actually,
okay.
there he is.
Yeah,
He's actually here. He said that he's available for work now. He's able to donate some of his time for us. So if you hear him in the background, here he is.
He's saying hello.
He's saying hello, and I am just so excited to be back in the mic again, to have you here again with us. With me and with everybody listening. And I want to invite you guys to listen to our past episodes.
Actually, our first 3 episodes.
Exactly, before this. This is going to be our story, part 4.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you, if you don't know us or if you've been like really curious about us, listen to this one. Yes, for sure. That's awesome. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely do that. But definitely encourage you to listen to some of our past episodes because they are really vulnerable, off tangent.
Mm-hmm.
There's some episodes just about Meijun. There's some episodes just about Guillermo's story.
Mm-hmm.
There's episodes on like random rants, etc.
Mm-hmm.
We want TakeThree Talks, of course, to be about us, but also about creating spaces to have vulnerable off-tangent conversations where there's no shame.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to be ashamed of. And this is a safe space, hopefully for me and for you and for everybody listening. So, yes.
And
welcome to part 4.
I love
story.
I love that.
Share with us. What do you think?
I love that intro. No, I just wanted to add to what you're saying, that, it's about our story and all that stuff as well. But I love when you described what this space meant for you, which is an audio journal.
Yeah.
For you to always be able to be your complete, full 100% self, sharing vulnerably, but more importantly, being able to look back at it in the future and just re-listen.
Yeah.
And hear our story again and remind ourselves, of how far we've come.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about this podcast too, and that leads really well into the next part, which is the fact that I was able to this morning re-listen.
So listen.
Go for it.
I think that my 100% mission was to create an audio journal that Estefi from the future and like the present can look back at and like re-listen, and like how awesome it is. How awesome would it be for 43-year-old, 53, 63-year-old Meijun and Estefi to sit down and be like, what the fuck did this loser say we were going to do? Like, who were they? What were they saying? But to be completely vulnerable with everybody here, like, after I edit episodes, like, it is so, unpublish them, it is so hard for me to re-listen to episodes again. Because it's really vulnerable. I have a lot of shame that bubbles up, especially with really old episodes, because I used to cut you a lot. It was something that we worked on therapy.
Worked on in therapy.
The podcast, actually, the way that podcast kind of started was also kind of traumatizing for our relationship as well, and like our work partnership. And like when we started the podcast, we were really burnt out, and like we were doing so many things, and there was like one episode like bi-weekly, and I was so strict, and like, so overall, like, I have so much like actual no say like pushback from myself to ever re-listen to some of our episodes. Like, I never have.
That's interesting.
I've never listened to them, and maybe in a few years I will be able to like listen to them with like more compassion rather than judgment to past Estefi. But at this moment I'm not there. So yesterday when I asked you, like, hey, like, just setting expectations. Like there's no outline for this episode. Like I had no capacity to like create an outline or like set anything up. I was like, if Estefi from podcasting could ask you anything, would be to like re-listen to the old episodes. And I was like, it's not mandatory. I was like, but if you do want to do any planning, because Meijun loves prep work, so I was like, if you want to do any prep, I'm like, this could be your moment. Re-listen to the episodes and like let us know what's up. So with that big vulnerable off tangent that I just shared about myself, I want us to kick off a little bit of like the recap of part 1, 2, and 3. So what we did before was we did part 1, 2, and 3 of our story, and we broke it down into blocks of years based on our life,
how everything started,
how our life kind of went. And just fun fact before I give it to you, I guess not necessarily fun fact, because if you're here you probably know this, but Take Three is our third take on a more meaningful creative life. And the whole part of the concept was that our first chunk of our first take was college. Our second take of that was working, not together, but working in inner city. And this freelance creative life is our third take on a more meaningful creative life. So at the moment when Estefi, the producer, was like, creating the parts 1, 2, and 3, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I can't believe it. Like 3 and 3 years and Take Three. And now seeing that last episode, the last part was filmed, was recorded, in 2021. And now seeing that it's been 2 years since, I am so excited to welcome you and welcome us to this part 4 of what we thought was 3.
Wow. The fact that there's part 4 is you being comfortable with breaking the mold, because you wanted it to be 3 episodes of our story. Now this is part 4. Another fun fact is we're actually in year 3 of Take Three, going to year 4. So it's this 3 to 4 thing is kind of pretty interesting if you think about it in that way.
I wonder what the numerology of this was. But
we can
Google that.
We can definitely Google that after.
But TikTok is definitely listening.
Or we can ask ChatGPT. We can ask ChatGPT what 3 and 4 means.
But yeah, exactly. Okay, so now Meijun, kick us off with a recap, a little bit of what we learned or what they learned from us in parts 1, 2, and 3. And also, I would like for you to share, how was it listening to us again? How was it listening to the episodes? Did it make you feel anything? Just share a little bit about that, because I'm really curious.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go into that right now without further ado. So, as Estefi mentioned, we have parts 1, 2, and 3 of our story, the first 3 episodes of TakeThree Talks. And part 1 was 41 minutes that encapsulated years 2011 to 2015. That was pretty epic. And in this first part, we talked all about who we are, where we're from, Estefi being an Ecuadorian, me being a Chinese Jamaican. How did we meet? How do we end up at Pratt? How do we end up in Utica for 2 years? And then moving to Brooklyn to finish out our degrees in communications design. Also talked about how another fun fact is I had a nickname, Michael. How did Michael become Meijun when I was in New York? And overall just graduating and starting to date. That's when did we start to date, Estefi? 2015.
Yes.
Of May 5th. Yeah, it's coming
10
up.
days before graduation.
Coming up. And how we were best friends before we started dating, and then the whole working in New York and what it felt like to apply for the H-1B visa and just the stress of going through all of that. So all of that was captured in one episode, part 1 of our story.
And I think what's really fun about part 1 is that really we go into the logistics, what it went into, filling out the application, how we ended up in Utica, New York versus the Brooklyn campus, how was the first day we met? We went into, I remember going into deep details.
First time seeing each other.
The first time, exactly. And people asked questions also. So that was a really fun episode.
Okay, so part 2 was everything from 2015 to 2019. And in this episode, we talked about moving in together, what that felt like. We talked a lot about our pet peeves, about how Estefi is a we call it it's our own term, a piler, and Meijun is a corner person. And you can find out what that means in part 2. We talked about traveling together as a couple to places.
I also remember we talked about the chair.
We talked about the chair. You'll find out what the chair means. I'm not giving away everything in this episode. Talked about traveling together as a couple to places like Puerto Rico, which was our first trip, to New Orleans, Portland, Seattle. So we talked a little bit about that trip as well. We talked about travel jitters and, how sometimes that caused us to get into some arguments. So we were very vulnerable then about that as well. Adopting Guillermo, what that process was like. I think the climax of this episode was talking about, Estefi's trip to China that changed everything. And when I say changed everything, meaning deciding to leave New York, we had to have a very big conversation about actually leaving New York and what that meant for our relationship. So we talked very vulnerably about that as well. We also, I think we ended the episode talking about Seattle. And then last but not least, part 3 focused on the time period between around June 2019, and that was the day we arrived to Ecuador, to around June 2021. So it was around 2 years. We talked about why we chose Ecuador, the process of quitting New York, the fact that we were staying in the Upper East Side for 2 months before we actually left to come to to come to Ecuador. We talked about everything that led up to us getting to Ecuador in June 2019, going through starting Take 3, taking on projects, juggling everything, living through the pandemic, moving out of your parents' house, living in Airbnbs, doing couples therapy, juggling so many projects together, pulling all-nighters, and actually going into burnout. And so all of that is covered in part 3 of our story.
Anything that you thought about when listening to this that you want to share?
Yeah, totally. I think the biggest thing that I felt when I was listening to all these was actually pride. I was really proud of how far we've come. Little May June, little Estefi started a freelance creative studio with all the doubt in the world, so much imposter syndrome, being scared to charge more than $500 for a project, to now being able to say that, we're a pretty successful company. We're not just a freelance creative studio. We're more than that. We have the studio side of things. We've grown that into something that is sustaining our living. We're able to start a mentorship program. You have a podcast. We're creating fun, banging content. And, we've had so many different experiences living here. And the work-life balance has been amazing. Even though we had challenges from start to now, we've grown so much from every step and every year that we've had here. And I'm just really proud, to be honest. And looking back, I had to just smile, and if I could tell myself back then, just you're gonna do great. You guys are gonna be fine. Just keep putting your best foot forward and enjoy the process and trust, and you guys are going to be fine. It's not always about money. It's about experiences and having fun and just, putting all your passion into this thing that is Take 3 for us, So that's what I felt when I listened to the first 3 episodes. Obviously, a lot of laughs and reminders of some of the things that used to bother us, and now those things are so small. So it was a lot of growth, and just proud of that, to be honest. Yeah,
I think growth would be what I would 100% agree on, and be on the same page about. I think that something that I am very proud 100% as well, but I also, I want to tell them that you don't have to be that ready. Like, you can just do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I think that there was a lot of like control and fear that led a lot of our life back then in June 2019. I'm not talking like part 1 or part 2, like especially part 3. I would say like we were struggling. Like, yes, it's like it's been really great, and like I wouldn't say like the work life has been great. The work life is great now. The work life has been pretty fucking like hard. Like, not having a place to live, not having a place to call home, like moving in our cars, packing up every month, like, you know, then going into a pandemic, then like, you know, realizing that our relationship was kind of falling apart, even though we were putting so much eggs and so much effort into our business relationship, like realizing that they are completely different relationships, realizing that there's different years of experience in a friendship versus years of experience in a relationship versus years of experience in a business versus like how we talk to each other, how we communicate, like, you know, I would just like to tell them that they are doing their best. Like, you know, like they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to know more. They don't have to be more prepared. They don't have to have more outlines. They don't have to have more like prep time, more tutorials. Like, they don't have to do that. Like, I remember there was a lot of that. There was a lot of like me pitching you things and you being like, no, but we don't know how to do that. We need to learn that. Like, you know, or like the podcast, like how the podcast even started. It was like, you know, one of the biggest arguments we've had, which was you telling me like, well, you can't just like make your way up through it. You need to prepare for it. You know, you can't just like pull it out of your exactly. You can't just like wing it. Yeah. And I want to tell her, I want to tell him like shut the fuck up, just wing it. Like, just go for it. Yeah. You know, I feel like a lot of the things that we wanted to do back then were put on hold because we were seeking perfection and control and like our best selves, and like what we put out there is like the last final most important thing in the whole wide world, you know? And it's just like, just calm the fuck down, you know? Like, you just put it out there, just test it out, just like make yourself proud, because what we've done, like what we did back there that was so good that then led us to burnout, like TakeThree vitamins, for example, like even the podcast, you know, like even getting us to record a podcast was a fight. Yeah. After the couples therapy episode, we had a huge fight, huge fight. And all that people were hearing was like us being like this kind of almost perfect creative couple that was about to go on the road, you know? But that was just like because of fear. I think that there was a lot of fear that we were kind of like also going, like living through and with, you know? And I do feel sad for them a little bit, like, because they were like running on empty, like they were literally like running this like this in all like aspects car of life. Like, it almost feels like they were like in this car just blindfolded, and somebody had just given them like a ride and was like, here's the most beautiful car, here's the most beautiful life, just go at it blindfolded, and like your hands are tied, you know? And it was like, what the fuck, you know? It almost felt like this like avalanche of like both good and bad experiences, but like looking back, especially at that part 3, and now, you know, what will kick off part 4, really like us kind of trying to put ourselves back in. You were saying this before the episode started. You were like, you know, I don't even know what was going on June 2021, you know? I feel like, I would like to refresh us with that, with a few pictures from Instagram, like I pulled up, and like our calendar that I have pulled up to like get us started to start the recap of part 4. But I just wanted to say that like, you know, I am 100% the more negative, you know, in our relationships. Not like negative Nancy, but like I do like to show people like a lot of like of that other coin, like be the devil's advocate.
Totally.
Because yes, it was great. And like the work, like I would say the work-life balance then was horrible. You know, the work-life balance now, even though it takes us out of our comfort zone every day to not hustle every day. Like, but now we're like, no, today is rest day and you must rest, you know?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to like add that to the conversation because I want to tell them, you know, I want to tell Majan and Estefi, like, yes, I am proud of them, but also like, you know, it is not the end of the world. Like what you thought then was like the end of the world or like was like had to be the most perfect thing. Like I wish we would have taken the leap a lot more times, but we didn't because we were so afraid. Because the things that we did take a leap on have been like some of the most fruitful things in the world without coming from a place of regret as well, you know, but just from a place of like want to give them a hug and like, you know, like I want to hug Estefi that wanted to release TakeThree vitamins like in 2021, you know, 2020. And she's coming and listening to this episode right now. Like I can feel her. She's here, you know, and she's like, bitch, you didn't release that. Like, what do you mean? You know, like you didn't do this. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. You didn't do that.
That's the goblin.
Exactly. That's the goblin. But that's also the reality, you know, like the reality was we were burnt out and we had to completely fully stop.
Yeah.
And that was the reality of where we were back in June 2021. We were about to hit the road and go on our first Ruta del Sol.
Yeah.
And we were about to like get in this car and sleep in our car in the heat, you know, like because we were so burnt out, we would much rather be like outside in the open, like just like sweating
it feels
than like being in business life.
Yeah,
you know?
It feels pretty crazy looking back. Yeah, I agree with you. There was a lot of things that I don't want to say negative. I want to say challenging things that happened during those times. And I think that we also, like, to be on the other side of the coin, is that we were pretty vocal about some of the negative things or challenging things that have happened. You know, we talked about on social media the fact that, hey, you know, it's not all fine and dandy. We get into fights. We need couples therapy to make this survive. We were very vocal about that and very proud about that. So I think that we do our best to show as much as possible, both positive and you know, the challenging side of things of running a business as a couple and as dog parents. You know, you as a daughter in, you know, this country that you didn't think that you were going to come back to, me being another foreigner coming to a you know, country that I don't even know Spanish. And so it was a lot that we were juggling.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Like it was not cool. Like, it was like when I look back, sometimes I feel like I was like dissociated for 2 years. I know, like,
that's probably what you were feeling for sure.
I was running on adrenaline.
I know. I felt a lot of the stress as well, but I think when I said that the work-life balance was nice, was that we didn't have to report to a boss. We didn't have to like try to prove to anyone else in a company that, you know, when we're in New York that had our visas, that we were working hard and like we were scared to take holidays and all that stuff. I think that was.
But I would say that I think for me it became more scary to then be your boss, and then for you to listen to me as your boss, and then for you to be my boss, and for me to listen to you as my boss.
Those are new challenges. Yeah,
that was fucking scary.
Yeah,
you know, like then
it felt invigorating.
It was
for
awesome.
Me in a way.
It was awesome the fact that we didn't have a boss, and we like for a point. I 100% agree. I would say like the start of part 3, like June 2019.
Yeah.
Into February 2020, fucking awesome. Yeah. Almost living my best YouTube live, and I wasn't even a YouTuber. Yeah. Like I remember having 500 followers on Instagram, and like 13 people would comment, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, wow, awesome!" Yeah. And then suddenly, like, shit got real, and it all actually became a thing. Yeah. Like we were actually running a business, and we were actually had deadlines, and we actually had to work with each other, and we actually had to listen to each other, and then we had to pitch each other's dreams, and then we had to like tell you, like, you know, I don't like that, do it again, or I think this could be better this way. Yeah, you know, like a lot of also you don't have a boss that tells you like, hey, here's your raise. Hey, you know, you're doing great job with the client. Like that has to be you.
We had to play all
and
those roles.
And that has to be each other. Exactly.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we were like just trying to like also be boyfriend, girlfriend, and dog parents. And like I like it like
it was a lot of growth. I think growth is a really big
growth. But is so good.
But the growth, like just looking back, the growth equals the pride that I have now. You know, I'm
I
so
think proud.
Yeah.
I think I 100%. I think the growth. Like if I were to like if this was like a mountain of growth, the poppies would be pride. You know, like growth blossomed for me into proudness, but it's not like I feel like it's hard for me. Like it's really hard for me to put myself back in 2021, you guys. Like I am feeling like we have to have a break before we start this. Yeah. Because I need to go pee again because
it was like, a lot to
my
go back
my
to,
voice was my voice is breaking right now.
Yeah.
Just like thinking.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a small water break, and then we're gonna start with going into like Instagram.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely start refreshing our memories because I go blank. Like I think June 2021 right now. And I'm like,
now, yeah.
What? Who? What year was that? Like, what happened then? So let's go drink some water and we'll be back.
We're back.
You ready? Please make sure to keep your hands inside the ride at all times because things may get bumpy, but they'll for sure be fun.
Yes.
Okay, so we're living at Shanti, which is like the house I grew up in, which is in the valley. And we were living in like a little casita, and our house was going to be done soon, supposedly. So we decided to go on a anniversary celebration road trip. This was like celebrating our personal anniversary plus also like TakeThree's anniversaries. Yeah. So we decided to embark on a road trip to the Ecuadorian coast. Called Ruta del Sol. I want to go into a little bit of like the road trip and just how that was for you. And I think personally, putting myself back there emotionally, I was a really hard time like connecting with you. So this road trip, like connecting with you as like a relationship partner, not like a business partner. So I remember us going onto this trip was super rejuvenating. Yeah, agreed. For how I felt with you as like in our personal relationship. And I think that trip really changed it for me.
Yeah. I think that with that trip we put a lot of the eggs that we had left into our personal relationship basket. And it was much needed because, as you said, we were burnt out from work and that affected our relationship a lot. So that was a good rejuvenation trip for us, and it was something that we experienced new as individuals as well. So that made it feel like it was a neutral ground, even though Ecuador is your home country. It was still new. All these places that we're going to, like Mompiche, Puerto Lopez, you know.
And the thing is, like I had been to Mompiche, for example, but I had been there with my parents like a long time ago. Right. And like the way that we went was, if for you guys that don't know, there's a really cool episode, like a really cool video. Maybe I can make like a guide with all the posts that I talk about in this episode on Instagram. Okay. So you guys can go like find all the collection there. That sounds fun. But basically we designed a car bed. Oh yeah. And they had like drawers and stuff. So that was like how I really thought this third ticket on my meaningful creative life was gonna go, at least for the first 2 years. Installing a bed in the car. Like, the pandemic happened. We didn't even get to go drive because Meijin's license didn't even get made
until right before the pandemic.
Until into the pandemic.
Yeah,
like we had to wait until like in the pandemic for you to go do your test. It was crazy. But the point is, so we made this bed and we had all of our stuff. And I remember us packing and we had like so many like toilet papers and like my parents made us a baggie in case we get COVID and like, you know, with all the medicine back in the day.
Yeah.
And we had like all of our food and we bought like battery light for the nighttime.
Yeah,
and like
we were really
Major
prepared.
and Estefi from the past, like from in New York, had bought us all of the stuff that we needed.
All the camping stuff.
All the camping stuff we needed because that was the life that we thought we were gonna have. So we had bought all the stuff. So we were prepared, and we even brought our rice cooker.
Yeah, yo, that thing's useful, man.
And
but we so in this car bed.
So we drove to Esmeraldas, which is in the north. Like now, in the way that stuff is now in 2023, you would never do this trip. But back in 2019, it was still safe to do. But we basically took from Quito to Esmeraldas.
5 hours around, right?
4 hours-ish, yeah. And then we stayed in this place called Casablanca, but you don't have to go there. It's fine. We were just there because we needed to do work. So we decided to go work at the beach.
To finish off
Like episodes and like stuff for life. But we decided to do it at the beach because why not? So we went to my parents at that time. They had an apartment there. So they no longer have it. That's how time has passed. And then we kickstarted the trip really. And we went to Mompiche. So from Casablanca to Mompiche is only like an hour or an hour and something. And in Mompiche, we stayed at Mud House. Yeah. We loved it there. Yeah. Loved it there. We should reach out to them, see if they're still even open. But it was so fun. But we parked the car and we basically stayed in the car. We didn't stay in the cottages.
In the parking area.
Which was right outside. Like the parking was right next to the little yoga hut thing. So it was insane. Like thinking about it again, it was insane. And what you guys don't understand is that it's so hot. Like I don't know if we actually thought about that part. Like while we were inside the hostel, we felt safe, but it was still like scary as fuck because you basically have to sleep with your windows down. We have like mosquito nets, or you suffocate to death. Unless you live in America and we could have Amazon, you know, like a solar powered fan or something like that. But we don't live in America. So there's no Amazon. So we were still really scared to like sleep in this car. Like every time we heard like a motorcycle go by, we were like, you know, and it was really, really, really hot. And so the first night, what we did was we would turn on the car, put the AC on, and then turn it off.
It didn't work.
And then by the second night, I was like, wait, there's no way this is efficient because when you turn off the car heats up.
Because you turn on the car.
When you turn off the car. No, after you've turned it on for the AC and whatever, when you turn it off, then the car heats up because it's like releasing all of the, you know, the shit that you had to go through to cool down the car. So we were so much hotter. Like we were melting, like melting. It was so hot in there. So we would wake up super, 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 super early with the birds. And it was just so beautiful. And we would walk to the ocean. And in that trip, I learned to wear a swimsuit like a normal human being and like feel in my body. And like we would take photos and we would just go dip and like go eat pan de yuca at 4 p.m. And like we were supposed to be there for like 3 days and we ended up staying like a whole week. And this is why I mean we didn't do the Ruta del Sol because we loved it there. Like it was amazing. We made friends with like the sandwich people. Like
we always make friends with people whenever we stay somewhere. Our budget was
so good. Like how much was our daily stipend? It was like not even $10.
I think we spent probably like $10-15 a day for food
or less.
Yeah, 10 to 15
for sure.
Yeah, around.
Yeah, including the pan de yucas maybe. But the thing is that we were in a budget. It was really great. So then we continued this trip and we went down to Manaví, to this place in Cañaveral, and we didn't really get the best vibe. I also got bit by
jellyfish.
Agua mala. And that was really like painful, and we didn't have to pee in my legs.
Yeah, bonding moment.
It was so painful.
Yeah.
And it was cold too, so we just decided to keep going down.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed there not even for a day, like a night.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning we just like
We went
drove
straight to Puerto Lopez. Yeah.
And here is where we stayed for 2 weeks.
Was it 2 weeks? I don't think we stayed that long.
I think it was about 2 weeks or 1 week.
I think 1 week
and a little bit.
I think 1 week or so around.
Yeah, but it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just reading, and we were again just getting the ocean and read, and you were playing like what was it, like those like board games, like there was like lots of board games and stuff, but we were doing things separately, like we weren't always together. There was that doggy at the Puerto Lopez at Mandala. We loved it there, and the breakfasts were awesome as well. And we had really awesome like shrimp. And yeah, I think that just that trip at that point, I was feeling more like I was alive.
It was refreshing.
Yeah. So yeah, anything else that you want to share from that trip? We ate such really good food.
A lot of great seafood in the coast.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I nothing else to add. It was
Puerto
it was
Plata.
Just,
You can tell them about Puerto Plata.
Oh yeah.
The
Isla de la Plata.
Isla de la Plata.
Yeah.
Is it Puerto Plata? No.
I think Isla de la Plata.
Sí, Isla de la Plata.
Yeah, Isla de la Plata is like a smaller, way cheaper version of the Galapagos experience. So you take this boat, I think for $45 per person.
I mean, not the whole Galapagos experience, but just like it's known here as a mini Galapagos.
Mini Galapagos, yeah. So we take this like boat, and it's like $45 a person, and then when you get there, you do this trek. You have different routes, and you get to see blue-footed boobies, and it's these birds with blue feet, and they're so cute. And I was able to take selfies with them, and you walk past them during the hike and everything, and
we met these awesome Americans. Remember?
Who?
There were these like young American, like it was like the three friends. There were one girl was from maybe not New York, but one of those places, and it was three of them. We even took pictures with them. And we took pictures of them as well. Yeah. And they accompanied us through the whole trek, and it was really fun. And we were like, what are the odds that we end up in like the English speaking
okay.
group?
I remember now. Yeah. It's like they worked, They were like our age or younger. I remember.
Like kind of because at that time I was 26.
They were around our age, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember now.
Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
And it was really nice.
It was nice
meeting. Really awesome.
It was nice meeting other
English.
Other English speaking people in Ecuador.
Especially because at that point we would never human like connection, because we were like always in masks.
That's true.
But we were outside, so we took our masks off for the first time.
That's very true. We were stuck in you see, like it's still so vague because the pandemic time, there's so many different like lapses of memory. I don't know. I just don't remember, but you have to really think about, like, even just now, I had to really think hard to be like, who are these people? Oh, I now remember. Yeah. But continuing, so that was Isla de la Plata. It was,
and the red fragatas.
The birds
that they
with
only mate within like only 15 days of the whole year.
The birds with the red tummy, but the tummy is actually like their scrotum.
Yes, the tummy inflates when they are like open for mating, and they only mate for like 15 days of the whole year. And if that scrotum pops while they're flying, they end up infertile for their whole life.
That's crazy, no?
And can you believe that if they don't mate within those first 15 days window of the year, like they're done. They have to wait a whole ass year.
Yeah.
For like the next mating season. So that was really fun, just like being out in nature, like actually making human connection and interactions. That was really fun. The boat was fun. The whales, it was like also whale season then, and that trip was really, really, really awesome.
It was. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really awesome. So then we came back to Ecuador. I mean, to Ecuador. We were still in Ecuador. We came back to Quito. So because our house was supposed to be done, we went back to Shanti. And you guys have to understand, like, all of our stuff was like the stuff that we brought to Ecuador, because if you listen to the stories, you understand how we brought stuff, was all in like a room, like
it's still in storage.
This house, like in storage. We were living literally out of a suitcase. Like we were like, we didn't have all our clothes. Like we were like really living like as little with little
as
things and
as
minimalistic as possible. And like our budget was really low, and like it was just like a time of like not necessarily doing the things that you do for yourself.
And I think more importantly, like because we
like
still had most of our stuff in storage, even until like towards the end of
December
till the end of 2021. Because we still had stuff in storage, we were never fully settled in Ecuador. That was that feeling that we had. I feel looking back now. And
we would cry.
I don't know. I
would cry.
I remember it was just tough being there.
Seeing all these Instagram posts, like I was not really in any of these. And if I was, it was like maybe a text design or something. But you were manning all of it.
Yeah. Well,
all of this content.
I think that was during that period was the time where I had more energy for just content and nothing else. Yeah. I was just like, I want to just make this. I want to create things like that I want to create. That gave me energy. So those were the eggs that I had left were to put into that. And that's why you saw most of the content was like either of me or I did them or whatever.
Like you would basically be like, I would be your actor.
Yeah. I'll be, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
This is my idea for this. I just want to do this, create this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But, it was tough because also being in Shanti in that, Shanti, the hotel, it was where you were raised. So a lot of, childhood trauma probably was sparked and triggered in yourself.
I started to get a lot of like PTSD, like just flashbacks and also like coming back from such a high at the beach back to the house.
It was back to reality.
It was our birthdays.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to celebrate. I did the whole surprise for your birthday. I didn't even really want to celebrate my birthday either. And then kind of like, we were just beat down. You gave me my mug, which is in this post over here, for my birthday, because it was inspired in the terrazzo that's in our bathrooms in the house, because our house was not ready yet. So you wanted us to at least have wanted me to have at least a piece of our house there, even though the house was not ready. Like to hold on to hope. And this was at the point where I had basically passed the baton to Meijun on like the last... in like a relays, I had passed the baton to Meijun to like finish the race,
to finish the year,
the house and the year and the life and the uni, and like we basically like stopped taking sessions as well by that point. A little bit way less of uni members and like mentees, and we were just preparing to when will the house be done. Like every week it was like like literally, like I feel like I was just holding on to like my breath.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. And then December 17, 2021 was one of the best days of my life. Was the day that I jumped in our bed and I laid and I just cried. And
at our new house.
We
were able to move into our new house the 17th of December. Yes,
and you were just looking at me and I was just looking at you and I just started bawling.
I remember that.
Like, oh my God, is this real? And maybe one day we'll open up about like the house and just more about it. And we'll for sure give like our uni members, a little tour of our house. But yeah, at that point we just wanted it for ourselves. Like I think up until now, we've really wanted like, since 2021 happened, since part 3, ended, we've wanted to keep, at least I have wanted to keep this life as a sanctuary, because I feel like from the moment we moved into the house on December 17, this has become like a hideaway, beautiful bubble of time, because up until then, like I felt so unsafe. Yeah. Like there was no roots. There was like no safety. It was like, oh my gosh, like where are you living? Like this and that. And then I started to be like get wrapped up in the business at Shanti and like my parents and my sister, and like it was like family business, and everything was just like so chaotic that like this house just became this like little cocoon portal of light. And I think it feels really weird talking about it with people in the public now, you know, just because this has been so safe.
Yeah, it's our safe space. It's our, as you said, we didn't have roots, and this house is our roots.
Yeah.
Where
I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's just like it's weird. It feels odd right now to open up. Now it feels closer to where I am now.
Yeah.
And it feels weird to now open up about our life in like since December 2021 feels closer. It doesn't feel like a memory. And I mean, you know, like
felt very
2019, 2020, 2015, 2018, like this has all felt like memories that we're talking about. But like December 2021,
felt like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. It feels like a recent experience.
Exactly. So right now I'm feeling a little bit naked talking about it with people, you know?
It's been we've lived here now for a year and a half or so. Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's kind of where we were. We were so vulnerable. Then we were like little birdies without a nest.
Yeah. And even like 2022, like not moving from 2021 to 2022, like
But how was it for you when you first moved in here? Like how was it?
I felt,
how have you felt, you know, even since moving here? Like how was your first Christmas here? Like give us a little bit of that before we move into like 2022.
Yeah, I think similarly to you, I felt...
We also adopted Toby, and we brought Toby back into our home.
Toby is Estefi's pug that she was her first pug when she was 17.
Yeah.
And
no, I was 15.
15.
It was for my 16th birthday.
Oh wow, 15! Wow, that's crazy. And when we came back to Ecuador and we had this house, we readopted him. Now he's our intern. But I think for me, similarly to you, I felt like I could breathe in the sense that I have a place that's ours. Like it's our place. We don't have to worry about anyone else. When we're here, we can really just, focus on ourselves and what we need and not feel like we owe anyone anything, being like living here. So that was really important to have, I think. And we were able to have our own workspace. We have a bedroom. We have a bed, like our main bedroom. We have an extra guest bedroom, and if we need, you can sleep there, and I can sleep in the other bedroom. So it was just so great to have our own space. Our
kitchen,
and we have kitchen.
Our own pots and pans.
We can fall in love with cooking again, and feel a little bit of what we had felt in New York in a way. Even though we rented in New York, it was still our place that we rented, that we paid for for a year, or for the lease. And it just felt like ours.
Like this was the first house we ever put a nail in, like a screw in.
Yeah.
Like we were learning in December 2021 and January 2022. We were learning like how to screw on like a nail, like a
because we were just so.
Because in New York, you're not allowed to put like holes through your wall, and if you do, you have to fix it.
We had a little traumatic experience. Maybe traumatic experience is a little bit too dramatic, but we had to
like little T trauma.
Yeah,
not big T trauma.
In New York, when we left our apartment, we had to make sure that we fill up every single hole, or we get charged for it. And there were a lot of holes. Yeah. A lot of holes.
And those were just like little nails. So like this house really became this place where we kind of came back.
We can let go.
Exactly. And we came back into our bodies, like hanging our pieces from college and like, starting to unpack. And that was the last move in the lapses of from 2019. That was our last move. So now you guys are finally back into... Holy shit, Major and Estefi, TakeThree. That was the last move of the batch. Yeah. Like when we moved in May 2019, we didn't even think when was going to be the next time we would open those boxes. And then when we bought the house, it was like this big turn of events. And then once it was really real is when we were unpacking and we threw away those final boxes that said Stephanie Ramirez.
It was IKEA boxes.
You know, contenedor, número, whatever.
Home Depot. Yeah.
You know, like that was like, that's when I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like opening up her photos and like seeing like the letters you gave me, like back in, like that's when we were like, oh my gosh, like we're here, we're home.
Yeah.
So that was really, I think, that December to January.
Yeah. Closing out 2021. That was important. That was an important thing that we needed to close out that year because we were just like lost.
Yeah, installing this wallpaper in our office, like that was all through that time. We're in December 2022.
December?
December 2022.
January
2022. From December 2021 to into January 2022. And this was when we kicked off our Moon Lab project.
Oh, yeah.
Our redesign project.
Yeah.
So we had not taken client work until here, this point. And we were really excited, I remember, because we were starting to work in our office. And, like, it was feeling like a lot more like, okay, at least we had a space.
It was our first project in our new home.
Exactly.
Our office.
Yeah. And, like, we finally had a space to work, etc. But I do remember that it still felt really stressful because there was a lot of stuff that was like being finished and I had a lot of like home projects to be done. And like, I remember I was working at Shanti stuff then. So I was like trying to make ends meet every month with the business and getting sales and like doing events and like sharing the place. And it was a lot of me going from here to Nayon and like, it was just like,
I feel like there were a lot of loose end projects on your end, like what you just described, and that made things very stressful.
Yeah.
For you to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
And it just caused a lot of stress.
And at the same time, the Moon Lab project was like web heavy.
It was a big project that you led.
Yeah.
Too, so
exactly.
So it was almost like, okay, I need to be realistic. Like, can I take on all these things?
So, which is what happened, basically.
Yeah.
So then my grandmother got really sick, and my grandmother died in March of that year. And in February, at the end of February, I was like still doing like working at Shanti, like trying to get the space rented and like doing these yoga classes and whatever. And then it was time to go say goodbye to grandma.
Yeah.
And
you knew that this trip, like you knew that this trip going there, it was
to say goodbye to her.
Say goodbye.
Yeah. And the idea was for us to then end up at Ayampe, continue like our leftover Ruta del Sol basically, but with Guillermo.
Yeah. And your grandma lived in Guayaquil.
And my grandma lived in Guayaquil at that time. Yes. And, I remember it was a lot. Like, I remember it was a lot. Juggling TakeThree, juggling Shanti, like juggling life. So personally it was a lot. Do you remember how you felt? Like, can you put yourself back there?
I think for me, 2022, I was just thinking more about it and why it just felt like such a blur, because I remember just telling my friends, even like, you know, when 2023 just started, when they asked me how 2022 was, I was like, yo, I don't know. Like 2022 felt like the year of personal, like, not personal development, but there were a lot of personal things that happened, from your grandma passing to dealing with all of that emotionally on your end and also on my end. Me, you know, telling you that I don't know how to grieve, you know, like your grandma leaving. She was still very special to me, and I felt like I didn't have space to grieve because I wanted to make sure that you were able to grieve because it was your grandma. So, you know, I remember we had that moment. So there was a lot of personal things in that end and emotional things. And then, not to move too far ahead, but I remember this was also the year that I had to rebuild my relationship with my parents, you know, and also with my brother. You know, I felt like I had this calling or this yearning to want to fix and better my relationship with my parents. So 2022 was a year of doing that. I feel.
Do you remember what you were doing in terms of Take3?
I don't. We had the
I don't even remember.
2022, because it was the year of that, we didn't have space to take on any projects.
Mean okay, listen.
Yeah.
So January, February, and March. So
Moon Lab.
Exactly. No, I know Moon Lab, but we did also the workshop with them, which is what you led.
Yeah.
And then what? And you were you were putting up the portfolio pieces.
Oh, no? Yeah. I don't.
What?
No.
But what were you doing? Because on top of
what were we doing in that year? Nothing.
No. But just like hear me out. So listen, like exactly to what you're saying. Like, is this realistic? Like I remember. So going into our bathroom and going into the corner and just like crying and being like, I cannot fucking do this. Like, this is, but like telling you, like, I must do this. Like, I must go through the stones. Like, the stones are lit up on fire and I must walk through the fire. And I know that the only way out is through. And I'm just going to need you to like be here for me. And like, you were also grieving grandma and like figuring out a lot of shit that like you were kind of coming to terms with and like life with. And then in March we did Friends Fest, you know, so we hosted all of these businesses in Shanti and like I also feel like we were a little bit like not really here, you know, like we were just trying to fly through and survive.
We were doing everything but work, but like projects. I don't think we
were doing Moon Lab because I remember when we were in Ayampe, when my grandma had just died, I was working on the wireframes and then I was working on the development of the site, which took me that whole time. But what were you doing? Oh, we got Beaver. You were working on Beaver and the branding.
Oh, was
the Beaver branding. Yes. We got Beaver in February. And we worked on Beaver. And then all of Beaver branding. I only came in for colors. And you did all of it. Typography and whatever. Yeah, but the website, we were in Jamaica, which was August. So we have a chunk in between March and August that we cannot account for.
I'm trying to.
That's why I'm saying that this 8th anniversary of our relationship in May is the first anniversary we're celebrating since our anniversary numero 4.
Oh my god!
You know, because what happened between March, like
we were at home. I remember at
March?
home, family stuff, like seeing your brother, like going to like family events.
Oh, April was family. Oh, I got my hair cut. I got a really big haircut.
Yeah, you
and
did.
I got bangs.
Yeah, and we were trying to. I think that because it was the first year living in our house and getting
Francie
used to.
was here. That's why we can't remember. We were so traumatized. Mason is like, shh.
Was it? Yeah, she left in April.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that was part of.
There's the
yeah. That was part of the personal
what you
part.
were doing. That's all you were doing.
We were focusing on.
You were focusing on that.
Yeah, like the fact that our friend was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another thing. That was around the same really time with your grandma, and us coming back, and
we felt like shit, and we were going through such shame storms, and we were like. We felt like the worst people in the world. I remember.
Yeah, it was tough.
What else?
I know what I was doing, and then I started coaching table tennis.
Oh,
that year.
Yes.
I started coaching table tennis. I wanted to put some time into like just something that I like.
That's why you weren't working. Exactly.
So I don't remember the projects we're taking. Maybe it was Beaver, but apart from that, I was doing table tennis.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I was coaching table tennis.
Because I was doing Shanti and you were doing table tennis.
Yeah. So that's what was happening. And on top of just working on that one project for Beaver. And I think the most important thing was living in the house.
Finishing the projects in the house.
All of the things that were undone. Even though we could have lived in the house, there were a lot of projects left that were not finished.
Yeah. A lot of people to fight. And a lot of like just like altercations.
Yeah, a lot of problems. I remember the leaks.
Paperwork too.
And fixing, a lot of fixing of the house, paperwork and finishing those things. And I remember.
It was a lot.
So that was
also doing all of our finance stuff.
Guillermo got allergies again.
Guillermo started getting allergies again. Like that was a lot.
So that's what I meant. I think that's what I remember now. Like there was a lot of little things like that came up. That was all personal and family related that was hard for us to focus on any other projects or even putting content out on Instagram to get projects because we just couldn't manage any other projects.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, there's barely any content here.
Yeah, we were just out of it.
There is, it's just like kind of personal or us crying.
Exactly.
Organizing the house. Yeah, this was a lot of, you also worked on adding all the portfolios. I was doing portfolio pieces. Like, I think that's a lot. You know, that's something that you manned up a lot was just like making sure you maintained TakeThree Studio alive, you know, in terms of content, in terms of like our portfolios. Like I wasn't even putting out really podcast episodes on Instagram anymore. Like it was like the people who heard it, the people who heard it good. Because that was also something we would get in fights about. Would be like, no, it's too much TakeThree Talks. It's not enough. No, like there's only this time. No, people are getting confused. So we were like getting arguments for anything. Yeah. To the point that we just like kind of stopped working together. And I think this was that point. Yeah. When we were like, okay, you man this project. We'll see each other in the client reviews. Yeah. Does that make sense?
There was a lot of that for sure.
And then I see that we went to Samia Lodge in July for the anniversary of TakeThree, which I see is creating a lot of little more moments here, which is like we went on a date to the museum and we saw that I Heart New York thing. We went to that brunch in Quito. We got our tables to be like raised now, so there's like that piece of
our standing desk.
We painted our walls, so a lot of projects were coming to close.
I think the Moonlight project was like launched already, so we were able to create content to promote that.
Exactly.
I think that's where some of like things started to feel a little bit.
Do all of the content also for the client.
Right. Exactly.
That's what you were doing also as well.
Exactly. I remember now. Yeah. Wow, it's such a blur.
All the animations and that stuff. I remember you were in the house like in the start.
I pull in almost an all-nighter finishing the content for the client. Yeah, that was all of that. So all of that led up till July
when we got our table.
When we had that trip to Jamaica. And this trip to Jamaica. 12th. This trip to Jamaica was
August 10th.
Yeah, August 10th. This trip to Jamaica was really important because I haven't seen my family in like 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years. And it was going with you, Estefi, to stay at my parents' house for like 3 weeks to a month, and that was something I was so nervous about, and it felt like role reversal we had talked about in couples therapy, where at first when I just came to Ecuador, you were making sure that I was okay. Now this trip was me making sure that you're okay and you're staying in the loop with everything, and me not getting too overwhelmed with my parents to make this experience really bad for you. So all of that was happening. So we went to Jamaica. We had a blast, but I remember there were so many moments.
Tell us some of those moments. Like the good and
the
bad.
The good. So the good was just being able to show you different places and show you all the foods that I loved eating, meet some of my friends, take you to Wolmer's, my high school.
Because I had been to Jamaica before.
You have.
But I feel like our life was in such a different place now. And our relationship was in such a different place now that this trip just felt new. Different.
It felt different. Felt like the first time again. Yeah.
Exactly. And even though like we were going back to some of the same places and meeting the same people, it's like we were completely new people.
Because I had gone to therapy during the pandemic, and I've worked a lot on myself. And I've learned a lot more tools to be able to communicate better with my parents. So again, going back, it was just like this new June, taking, his partner to the country that he was raised, and being able to show you things with pride, like taking you to my high school was very important to me. and also to you to be able to see where 7 to 8 years of my life I spent growing up, was at high school. So being able to do that, also doing work in Jamaica was super cool because it felt like, this is what we're supposed to do.
So we were releasing, that's when we were working on the Beaver website. We were also working on the xoxo website.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I think so. We were taking on small projects here and there.
Oh, and you had updates from like La Fada.
Yeah, so like all past clients coming back for like updates and stuff.
Little updates. And Moonlab too.
And
this
was
like little updates for Moonlab too.
And all these we did not promote or try to get projects. It was just clients coming back to us with projects.
And finishing up projects that started earlier, or like old clients like you said.
Exactly. That's the only reason we made some money last year.
If not, like we would have looking dire.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we were able to do that in Jamaica. We, stopped by this cafe for the first time. And it became our like go-to coffee shop. Ragamuffins, shout out. Yeah. You guys should definitely go to Ragamuffins in Kingston.
Yeah. We also went to Jacana. If you know, you know.
Went to Jacana. If you know, you know.
In Jamaica.
We went
to Ocho Rios.
Yeah.
And with your parents to the resort.
And Montego Bay.
And that was awesome. No, Ocho Rios. That was
Montego Bay. Yeah.
But we also went to Ocho Rios.
We went to Ocho Rios as well. Yeah.
And we like jumped off that scary cliff waterfall.
Yeah. So it was
without glasses, and like I swear to you, like my heart just fully stopped, and like I couldn't breathe, and I had done like the scariest thing. So like that also was so awesome, because like doing scary things that like you never thought were possible, and like having my birthday there with your parents and you
and my
just,
friends,
like, your friends, and like having your birthday there and seeing you with your family, and like it was just all like wow.
Yeah, it was. It
was awesome. It really felt like a really huge breakthrough for both you and I as individuals, but as a relationship and as friends and as business partners.
I think that's a great way to put like what describe 2022, like a breakthrough year from a personal standpoint, because I think our relationship grew a lot that year as well, especially during and after spending 2 months with my parents. I saw how much you were there for me during very stressful times, and we got through it and we were able to do a retrospective about it and just grow from that experience, and you were able to see firsthand some of the little traumas that I went through growing up.
And big D traumas
too. From a family standpoint, and I think you were able to understand me a lot more
deeper.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like this. It had been like 3 years of you looking under the rug of Estefi. Like you had looked under my skin and you had seen me raw.
Yeah. And now
I went through like a camp of 2 months of like seeing you raw. You know,
you see me during stressful
mine
moments.
Was like a slow kill. It was like.
Mine was like a fire pan.
Yours was like
jerk fire pan.
Exactly. And I also think that what was really awesome was that in August, like that trip, July, August, September to October, I feel like it was so fun because we did not work at all. Like after we came back from Jamaica
with my parents.
But something I wanted to say is in Jamaica, it was the first time in I think 2 years we had sat down to dream about TakeThree, about what you wanted the podcast to kind of become, about what type of clients we wanted to get, about what it looked like for TakeThree Uni, like things that we're doing today. Yeah, we dreamt about in August,
right?
And that was the first time we had sat down to do that since
burnout ended. Since
part 3 ended.
Yeah.
So I think that was also really beautiful. Like being able to like see that even though we were really fearful to dream again and to like make plans again and to like make launches again or deadlines for ourselves, like because we had been through burnout, we had a little bit of like whiplash, I think. So it was just really nice that we were able to do that.
I think more importantly,
remember, like, we sat at like Blue, at the cafe that's
Cafe Blue.
No, Yeah, Cafe
Blue up in the
that's
mountain.
Sovereign. No.
Oh, the one
that's in Sovereign.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we like sat down and just wrote stuff.
Yeah, I think more importantly, I think that we were going towards the end of the year and even the start of this year, we were learning to work together again and also get over and fix the fear that I think you evidently had and that I subconsciously had of working together. I think that there was a lot of like friction between us from the business standpoint in terms of like communication, like, you know, you leading projects, me leading projects, like what's the middle ground, like who's the boss of what, and like relearning that I think was a big part of 2022 going towards the end of 2022 to the start of 2023. You know,
like
so I think that was a big part.
Fear, I think has been since we started again from when your parents left, and even I think in August, like since this little dreaming session, and closing out those projects or whatever it is, because that was when we delivered the Beaver website, we delivered the Jewel Co website,
we finished everything.
Everything. So we had that month and a half with your parents here with zero work.
Yeah.
You know, so we actually took like a month and a half, no work, no content, no deadlines, no nothing. Everybody can literally fuck off.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were just going out to nature and like crying, and I was unpacking childhood memories, and I was looking at my diaries, and I learned even more about myself, and I had even more breakthroughs, and I decided to like start quitting English therapy and what it would look like to play around with Spanish therapy, you know, therapy in the language of like my big D traumas. You were like facing like head on with like your parents being in your home, and you needed to like, you know, it was our safe space, it was my safe space. Like I would be having like literally panic attacks in like the bedroom, and you would have to have like dinners with your parents.
I had mind fucked for the whole time.
Like exactly like your own things of like speaking different languages.
I was thinking 3 different languages for a whole month, and that was stressful in itself.
But what was really nice was that Estefi and Meijun from Jamaica, like in Jamaica, they basically like, oh no, was it in Ecuador that we just said like, okay, let's just go. And like we literally would just lean in. Like we didn't try to plan anything. Like we didn't try to like block out the calendar for anything. Like I remember us being in the closet, and it was like, and I was like so scared, and it was like all about leaning into the fear. Like that's what we were working in couples therapy, you know, trust, lean into the fear. Like your partner will be able to tell its own safety issues, like boundaries and trust, lean in. And I remember like, you know, in my underwear in the closet, looking at you and being like, the sky looks really beautiful. I think we should go to Cotopaxi right now. And you were like, okay, let's go. Yeah. And we just like came out. We told your parents.
It was more spontaneous.
And we like booked it.
Yeah.
And we had you know, it was just like awesome. And
those are the funnest times.
Exactly.
The spontaneous impromptu
and that month,
plans.
I feel like that month and a half was that for us. And it really taught us that spark and that trust in each other again. And like it's okay to say sporadic and spontaneous moments, and like your partner does want to have fun with you, and your partner, like you guys are each other's safe space, and you guys can be comrades, you know. And like, you know, we both wanted to show your parents like a fun time, and like, but we were also having a fun time because we had never like hosted anybody in that way outside of like David. So I think it was just like as dramatic as it felt, we also had some really big like sunshine moments, a lot of
as you said, breakthrough moments. I think for sure from from my parents to be here, and I had a lot of breakthrough moments with them, crying conversations, learning so much more about my parents' upbringing, something that I've never been knowledgeable of growing up because I didn't have the interest in learning. And now I finally have a lot of clarity into their life situation growing up and how they were raised and why they are the way they are now. So I'm able to have more compassion and patience for them. And that was what happened like July, August, September to October.
And we finished October and your parents leaving basically with the biggest party.
Yeah.
We made like a family reunion. I really wanted them to meet like kind of like the Latin family way. And
big party.
This was also like kind of my way of healing and like seeing my family again and like kind of like presenting myself to them. I was like, hi, this is 29-year-old Estefi, like 28-year-old at that time. This is, or 29-year-old, 29? It was last year, 29.
Yeah.
So this is 29-year-old Estefi. I have bangs now. I have curly hair. I don't shave my armpits. I only clip it. And like, I don't really give a fuck about what you guys think and say about my body.
Yeah.
I also have an amazing partner who I am really proud of and I want to show off to you. And like, you know, I want to show you his parents and I want to also show his parents and my awesome partner that there is this whole gang behind them of like people,
full family support,
people who held me in their way. They held me so that I could be alive enough to reach 17 and reach Utica, New York. Yeah. You know, and just like for you guys to really see kind of where the hell she comes from, you know, because I would love to do that in China, right? Yeah, like I would love to like whatever it is that your version of your culture of it, you know? So that was like a really sweet reunion meeting party thing. Like
to send my parents off back to Jamaica.
All of my aunts and uncles, they came from all over the like Ecuador. Everybody was like, you know, only you, Steffi, would be able to join the family in this way. Like it was the first time that all my uncles and aunts were like hugging each other since like
the pandemic,
both our grandparents died, both their parents died. Like this was like a big, huge deal. Like
another breakthrough moment.
Exactly. It was like a huge breakthrough moment. And like it was just really awesome. And I was like so proud, just so proud of us. And like I remember when your parents left, we were like, it was like a sponge and like just like all the water drained and we were just so tired.
You literally forbade whatever the past tense is from doing anything. You're like, okay, you need to lizard for a week. And you basically, you know, stopped me from doing any type of work, and that was much needed for me because I was done. I was emotionally just like, what the hell just happened in the past 3 months? You know, too much family time. I need to digest everything and I need to ground myself again because that was a lot of emotional work.
And also, what is this space again? Okay, let's like,
it's our home again. No one else is here.
Let's like rejigger stuff that we don't need. You know, let's like who are we? And
also we had to rest so that we could prepare for a trip to see our friends. Remember?
I see.
How did you forget?
1 week.
That was the last trip that we had for the year.
Just kidding. So that 1 week you lizard and there was no work still. Maybe we had like a session or something, like a uni something.
I don't even remember.
Because we had like live Q&As or something because this was like the start of November at the end of October. So we then went to the Dominican Republic, which if you guys haven't read the blog and like all of that stuff, maybe I'll actually like post the videos that I did that I said I was going to post on TikTok, but I haven't. But they're there. They're made. So maybe I'll post them. But that was awesome.
Best trip
that
ever,
was so glass filling and also like glass outpouring. Like it was just like I'm closing my eyes because holy shit. Like I want to cry just like thinking about hugging our friends and like feeling the sun and like being underwater with them and like being in a car and like doing a road trip and eating food and like holy shit, like it feels like a dream. Like we had not seen them. We didn't know when we were going to see them again. And the fact that we all flew out to the Dominican and like we all invested in our friendships. Like looking back, like, oh my gosh, like
it was just last year.
That was amazing. Like we went out dancing and we got drunk and like
I went snorkeling.
We went snorkeling and that was awesome. We smoked cigars and
we had a villa to ourselves and we did barbecuing.
Love Island villa.
I know, literally had a Love Island villa and we, you know, Woody and I were cooking for everyone and we had family dinners and we rented a car. We drove all the way to the coast, went to a lagoon, beaches. I almost broke my shoulder or something. I don't know which part of my body, trying to like, jump off of the what do you call the thing where you're swinging, like the hang glide thing?
It was like a 50-meter
It was like
line.
a zip line,
Yeah.
holding on a zip line to jump into a lagoon.
But the thing is that you were supposed to jump with our arms down, but we didn't put his arms down.
I panicked, and then I kind of had my hand sideways, and then kind of like almost screwed up my shoulder.
Out of the water and was
Woody,
like,
Woody.
My
So
balls.
I hurt my shoulder,
My
and Woody
balls.
landed on his balls.
Yeah.
So his balls were hurting, and my shoulder was hurting.
And Betta did amazing.
She
like
did
the
amazing.
cheerleader she is.
She killed it.
She killed it the whole trip. She was
Yeah.
like my regulator. Like
She
she is
was.
literally like my soul sister.
Yeah.
Like I am so happy she's in my life.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the Dominican Republic trip.
That was awesome.
And
And then we were the last ones to leave, so we had one final date together.
yes, exactly.
Even though we had like an argument that day, and that was the most wholesome just moment. And and then we traveled again together, and we went on the VIP rooms.
And I think also when we came back, we had another impromptu trip to Guayaquil.
Yes.
We flew to Guayaquil to go to one of our clients and friends.
Oh my god! Because we
Lunch.
got into the biennial.
Oh, we got into the biennial. Oh yeah, that happened
and
last year.
And our work was going to be in a fucking museum in Madrid, Spain.
That's true. Yeah, that
the
was
last
something
project
that we forgot.
took into burnout. That was the last project, and we only took it, and we had to hire out to be able to work on it
To finish
because
it,
we were
yeah.
so burnt out. But
we got into the biennial.
we got into the Biennale, and we were going to the coffee shop's opening, because like the Café La Llama was opening a coffee shop co-working space.
Yeah.
Like and cursos, like coffee workshops.
Yeah.
Space. So we decided to go visit her just for the
Support
day.
that, yeah.
Because she was going to go to the biennial in Madrid.
That's
to
so true.
see the work.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
That was the mid-November.
That was towards the end of the mid to end of November.
Wow.
And I think right after that, after we came back from Guayaquil, I think we literally just like, I don't know, tried to relax and rest up for the remainder of the year.
So what we did, we worked on Extravaganza, which was like the edition of La Llama. We went to the biennial. Then we went, we did some content. Oh, I did the kits, like the kits for the kid. Kits
your
for
pro
the
bono,
kids.
your pro bono work. Yeah.
The pro bono project. We built 21 kits for kids.
For kids, yeah.
We
we donated. You were able to donate a lot of money.
We raised.
And raised, yeah.
We raised money to buy the stuff.
That's awesome.
We raised $350, and then we did Christmas together.
A lot of content at home.
And then it seems that we went on a few dates, and then 2023, I think.
Oh, we're going to 2023. Oh my god.
Yeah, this is January of 2023. You know, we had Christmas in our house in 2022. You gave me the earrings from my grandparents. I gifted you a ceramics workshop in February.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And we just had a nice little Christmas at home and New Year's at home as well. We played like board games. Like we played that funny like talking game with the mouth
Watch your
open.
mouth.
Yeah. And yeah, so in January in 2023, we knew that this year was going to be the year where we have to make money. We have to work.
I had to try to find projects. So we spent a lot of time doing that.
And strategizing into doing that. Finalizing like portfolio things, like what did that look like?
January was heavy with that work.
Exactly. And also kicking off like what would it look like, what projects were going to be prioritized, like how are we going to take on like TakeThreeStudio.com redesign,
continue to upload projects,
launching more spots for our community for Take3 Uni, rebranding all of that, making sure all of that landing page and all of that was done. That was January of 2023.
We got an LLC.
Yeah, that was in February of 2023.
That was February, yeah.
In February, you started ceramics.
Uh-huh.
You started ceramics,
Yeah.
and I continued ceramics. I started ceramics in July 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And you were working on ceramics, and that
for
was
the whole
super
month.
important. Yeah, and that
Awesome
was like super
time.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
And in terms of client work, we were like we were like doing proposals.
Uh-huh.
We worked on like around 3 proposals, and none of the projects came through.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we worked on the proposals, we also put out content, of course,
Mm-hmm.
that was more geared towards like looking for clients, and you were really manning all of that, like leading all of the content that goes on our Instagram regarding our projects and stuff.
And I went to Jamaica in
You
March.
also and you also did all of the content for the community uni launch.
Oh yeah.
Which
I
was
remember that.
into January to February.
Uh-huh.
So then when February ended, we also went to the park for the first time because we decided that it was time to
take a break.
Take a break because we were going really fast.
Uh-huh.
And then in March, you went to it looks like you were also working on the video
I was
for our
working on
website.
working a lot of
So all of the little
updating
updates.
stuff like that, yeah.
And creating content here. And then we had the raku, the firing of that awesome piece
Yeah.
that then created the product that we're gonna sell, limited edition, for Christmas. It's gonna be called Listen to Your Body mug, for all of our podcast fans. You guys are listening to it first, but we did the firing of that, and that was so cool. And that's basically where we are. You went to Jamaica at the end, at the start of March.
Yeah.
And I stayed home alone with Guillermo and Tobias.
And Penny.
And then my parents left, and then Penny came over.
Oh yeah.
And then you came back.
Yeah.
But it was a awesome 28 days of a lot of learning. I think that was on us another breakthrough moment, like you said, of just focusing back on our individual selves relationships, and I realized a lot of codependency patterns on my end, and anxious attachments, and abandonment issues and fears, and we've also been working with our couples therapy. I started Spanish therapy.
You started Spanish therapy.
That was huge moment. That was in January. And yeah, it's been insane. But tell me how your trip, tell us how your trip to Jamaica was, and how was it for you? Did you find any patterns or any things that you were noticing now that you were alone that you want to share with somebody, other people, kind of how I just did, other things that I realized. Also I realized how much anxiety has a toll on me when it comes down to driving or going places. It
By
feels
yourself.
very unsafe. And because the security issue, even when you went to Jamaica, it got even really more bad. Now it's even worse, but it really started to ramp up really
that sucks
badly.
that that's happening.
So I think that also was something I noticed a lot, was how unsafe just security wise I feel here. And just I also, when you were not here, before I give you the mic and then we close out, I started planning our no visa 2024 trip.
Oh yeah. That's exciting.
Super, super exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah. So you tell me, how was your Jamaica trip? How was it seeing your parents again? Why were you there? How was it not being with me? And yeah.
Well, that's a lot of questions in one.
And you don't have to you have to answer whatever you want.
I think the trip to Jamaica was very important for me. It's something that I was nervous but also looking forward to, because my brother was going to be there in Jamaica and my parents are there clearly, and me being there was going to be epic, because the last time we were together in Jamaica in our home was 2013. So literally a decade. And that was an opportunity that I didn't want to pass on, because I did miss my family. I did miss my brother and spending time with them. So the whole trip was centered around spending time with them and building my relationship with them, continuing what I started last year. So being there, it felt the same but different, in the sense that you know, I'm an adult, 31-year-old with more tools,
Mm.
not the 18, 19-year-old that really wanted to get the fuck out of there. I wanted to be there. That's the difference. You know, I wanted to learn more about them. I wanted to spend time with them. I wanted to go do new things with them. I wanted to have more conversations with them, with my brother, you know. So that was one of the most beautiful parts about that trip, is that I wanted to do that genuinely, and I was able to do that. You know, we spent a lot of time playing cards and laughing, and yes, there were some things that were reminders of how things were. Like, my mom gets really worried. She doesn't like when I go out, so that was something that was still present. That reminded me of like how tough it was before, when I used to lie to her to go out. So there was a little bit of that was stressful, but besides that, it was more positive of a trip than anything else, and definitely strengthened my relationship with my family, both brother and my parents. And I think some of the patterns that I saw, that now with more tools I'm able to pick up those things, is my parents, like the connection that I see is their people pleasing side, and also the feelings that they have of like owing people. Like, if someone does something nice for you, you have to do something nice back, versus just accepting that someone wants to be nice to you, just accept it and say thank you. So I see that pattern in myself, where it's hard for me to accept things from people without like the need to, oh, let me give something in return. You know what I mean? Even within a relationship, when you do something nice for me, I feel like I have to owe something to you. I see that pattern with my parents, you know, and I understand more of where that came from for them, you know. And I see the connection with why I do that. And I also see the indecisiveness of my personality, and where that
silence of the kites.
Yeah, sometimes when I get indecisive, I get silent and I don't know what to say. And I saw a lot of that in my parents. And even though it was really annoying during that time, because when I'm there, I kind of play like a Estefi role, where I'm very decisive. I'm like, okay, we're going here. Can you make a decision? I'm the one that's planning things, you know? So when they're quiet, I'm like, can you guys say something? And then immediately I'm like, oh my God, like that's what I do when I'm with
It's like
Estefi.
role reversal.
Yeah.
That's what our therapist.
Those are some, those
Role
are some of the
reversal.
things that I picked up on while being there.
Wow.
And another very important thing, the third one, is how I, in terms of my relationship with my brother, like in the past, I've tried to play like a parent role than a brother role. So this time I was trying to be more conscious of being a brother, letting him have his relationship with my parents, and not trying to control it, and being like, hey, you should say this. Hey, why don't you say something more? Why don't you talk more? Blah, blah. And like, you guys, you have your relationship with our parents. I'm not going to try to control that. And I'm okay with that. And I think that was another important thing that I picked up on as well. So those three things, I think, were the things that stood out during my trip with my parents. Yeah.
I also would
In
say that
Jamaica.
it was really nice that you opened up and you leaned in a little bit to, like, for example, when I gave you the suggestion of eating the Chinese food before the trip, or like bringing cards or whatever, like you were very vocal after the fact to be like, hey, thank you so much, like,
for that suggestion,
like whatever. Like, it was like almost like the first time where you were very like knowledgeable of like the impact this suggestion had on your quality of life, you know? Because normally we don't get to have that retrospective, because it's like something that we do together. So it's not like, oh, so, you know, did you think that was a good idea? You know, like it wasn't like that. And because I was in a different place, like I was not experiencing with you guys or anything, like you realized how, I think that was something that was like kind of like a little achy for us, was like, you know, the control, or like Steffi trying to control you, or like that, like kind of like big T trauma within our relationship a little bit of like, I think that was also a little bit of a healing moment for us.
I think that
me feeling brave, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Well, not quote unquote, but I don't know, to suggest, and you being brave to then say like, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah. I think that the word there is intention.
Yeah.
We were very intentional,
Mm.
more so because we were not in the same place,
Mm.
to let our partner know that we appreciate what they suggested,
Mm.
or even when you're suggesting something, it feels like something more intentional than just like, oh, just, lackadaisical, just coming out of nowhere. You know, that's I think the big thing there is that because we're not there physically, things, I think subconsciously we felt like we wanted to show up for each other more in any way that we can. And you were with making a very meaningful suggestion that helped my time with my parents when we went on this trip. And then me realizing that, to be like, I need to let her know that I'm really thankful for this, but when we're here together, I think sometimes we miss out on those opportunities because, or don't think about it because we're seeing each other 24/7, Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. So I think that was a really big thing we learned, with, not being together. Was being more intentional with the way we spend our time together, when we need to communicate, what we need to communicate, if we need to communicate, how we spend our nights together, like, just meaningful times, etc. Like how we voice things to each other. I think that was really nice.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, I think that was really great. To close out, I guess, it's been a month since you came back from Jamaica. Almost will be a month since you came back from Jamaica. It's in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
When did I come back again?
April 28th.
No. The first
March
week
28th.
of April.
April
right?
10th.
April 3rd.
April 3rd.
April
yeah,
3rd.
April 3rd.
April
Okay, so it's
3rd.
been 17 days
Yeah.
since you came back. I would say that the biggest thing that has been an adjustment for us has just been like how much we kind of grew into ourselves while we were apart, and re-meeting those versions of ourselves, and like kind of re-meeting ourselves in our home together, not just like my home that I was manning, and I also think that it's been really beautiful in terms of our relationship with our business and ourselves within our business. I think we've learned a lot, and like we're seeing each other a lot, and like we're both kind of back in the same horse, so it feels like we're both going at the same pace, like not one of us is more burnt out than the other and whatever. Like now I think we're making a really meaningful time of our work-life balance. We're making really meaningful time of having social events with friends, or going out to a dance, or like, you started ceramics
again,
last week. And that's really awesome. And that's something that I think will just bring so much joy into your life, and I hope play into your life, and curiosity and creativity again. And just personally, I'm feeling really grateful to be alive. And again, to the part 3 Major and Estefi, I just want to thank them because their bravery got us here. And our strength and our vulnerability will continue to get us through. And like we say, as long as, we're kind and hardworking.
As long as we're hardworking and passionate about what we love to do.
Then the universe will always have a seat for us at the table.
Absolutely.
Any last words that you want to share with friends and to yourself or to us?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I do. Usually you're the one who does this, where you're like, oh, we should do this in another episode. But I was just thinking about how even this past week or 2 weeks that I've been back, how much we've grown. After me coming back, we had that little rough patch the first few days, and then I think after that was another breakthrough moment, I think, for us in our relationship. And there's this newfound patience and empathy, I think, for each other within our relationship as individuals and as work partners, that I feel and I see. I don't know, maybe you also feel the same. That is really beautiful, that I would love to continue to talk about in another episode.
What would you title it?
I think something along the lines of I don't know, like working as a couple with, I don't know, more like with more empathy or something along the lines of that, or just a creative couple, like a creative couple learning to work together again, or something like that, you know, because I think that's something we're learning to do right now. Or we can ask ChatGPT to come up with some headlines. But I would love to talk about that, because I think we did have a rough patch, and we were learning again to just show up with more intention and with more patience, you know. Like the other day, like yesterday, like I made the same mistake of screwing up your time lapse. And I remember us having a big fight about that before, but yesterday you were just like, you know, you shook it off, and you're like, you know, it's okay, like I forgive you, like I know you didn't mean it, you know. And I think even though that felt like such a small thing in the moment, it was a big deal.
Yeah, I
agree.
agree.
That's where most fights happen in couples, are small little things.
Yeah, and I would also say that it was really nice because you didn't go into victim mode, and you didn't go into like. Because I think what would get us into trouble would be like, I by mistake, or clearly, normally would say, oh my God, you closed the door, or you closed the door again. And the immediate reaction would be,
how was I supposed to know?
Well, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
You know?
Why didn't you tell me? Or something that makes it about your fault. Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, whatever it was. But it was just like this, like, almost like hot toddy. You know? It was like not hot toddy. Like hot potato.
Hot potato.
You know? It was like, you know? And like, in that moment, we both just took a deep breath before interacting with each other.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? It's like, I saw the door and I was like, oh my God, you closed the door again. And you took a deep breath. I took a deep breath. And I was like, it's fine. I was like, you know, we'll just start it over, you know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But we were both really compassionate, and we were both seeing each other, and we were both seeing that we both felt kind of like little armadillos.
Yeah, yeah.
Or like whatever they are.
And
the spiky things.
And we knew that we didn't do it out of malice. I think that was.
And we were both, I think, emotionally vulnerable with each other, being like, "Oh fuck, like, you know, I'm beating myself up about it."
I said,
like,
I know I did this
can't
before.
believe I
I'm
did
really
this
sorry.
before.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it was like. We were both just very vulnerable, and I think that's what you mean. And I loved when you say like learning to work together again, because I think that that's something that we talked to our therapist a lot, which was like, in our business relationship we thrive. I was like, what can we learn in our like relationship, you know? And then we went into this journey, which you guys just listened to, from like June 2021, going on a road trip and re-meeting ourselves like our most naked hot selves in a car, you know, and learning to just like from the most minuscule moments with each other in a vehicle to now running a household and a business and having dogs and like having routines more and going to places and having friends and like we're now then I think now that we've like cultivated a relationship, a personal relationship again, now we're like learning to work together again. And what are the things that we're remembering as we go into this new chapter of Take Three and this now new iteration of what our third take on a more meaningful creative life looks like, because clearly what they did in part 3 was their version of it, and now we get to write and continue to write our version of a third take on a more meaningful creative life. And I think that's awesome.
I think so too.
So thank you so much for coming on this ride. You can now take off your seatbelt, you know, you can start
stretching your legs a
little bit, stretching your arms, and thank you so much for coming on this ride with us.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you for doing this, and I hope that we continue to grow together. Thank you for being patient, and hopefully you tune into this episode as a whole. And if you do, let me know. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making my dreams of having a podcast true. And thank you for being my co-host and being brave and coming on here without an outline or any idea of what we were going to talk about. And
you're welcome. Thank you for having me. Love you too.
Bye, friends.
Bye, friends.